Hi there, so this is the second video tutorial, and in this one I'm going to be taking the map that you see here and turning it into an underwater landscape. So what we've got to start off with this fairly kind of blasted, arid looking map. This is from my map packs that you can get to through my website. This was originally created for Colosseum Morphian, an adventure for Wright Publishing. But it all looks very dry and barren. It doesn't look like it's underwater at all. So the first thing we need to do is set up a bit of color change because we want it to be kind of bluey. So I'm going to create a new layer. Do that just by hitting the new layer button down here. On this layer we're going to fill it with a nice kind of grey blue color. So that's clearly just filled that with a totally blue color. That's not exactly what we're after, but we need to change the blend mode to color blend. Okay, so that brings it down to something that looks a bit more like a moonscape. Now we don't want to get rid of the colour entirely, we'd rather have some of the variation from the original map in there. So that's probably a bit too much, I think. Let's take it down a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So that's kind of desaturated, but quite nice. I want to bump up the blueness a little bit. So I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to change that mode to overlay. Okay, that's a bit much. Dial that down just a little bit. Okay, so that gives me quite a nice dark blue tint to the whole thing. Now I'm going to put both of those layers into a layer group. So I just create a new folder, put them into the group, and I'm going to call this group under C. This means at all points I can just turn the layer on and off nice and quickly. Now that's a very quick way to turn a map into an undersea map, but this doesn't look much like it's actually under the water. It just looks like a flat color change to the whole map. So I'm going to add some ripple effects to this. Now to do this we're going to need a new image. And I'm going to make one that's quite big, so 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. You'll see why in a second. First of all, I'm going to revert the colors back to black and white. I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Render and Clouds. Give that a second. Okay, so now you can see it's created kind of a nice repeating cloud texture. We can't do too much with that yet, so I'm going to add another filter on top, which is to render different clouds. Okay, so that gives us this kind of squirmy worm-like pattern, but I want it to look the other way around, so I'm going to invert the colors. So that's Command I, or you can get to it through the edit menu through Image Adjustments Invert. Yeah, that's starting to look a little more promising, but now it's very, very white. So I need to just change the levels a bit. So what I did there was I created an adjustment level by going to my adjustments panel. If that doesn't exist, you can always go to Window, where is it? Window Adjustments. There we go. And it'll show up. So I created a new adjustment layer. The adjustment layer I created was a levels layer. And you can see that at the moment it is exactly very white. So there's a lot of the histogram here is peaked up in the white end of the range, and there's basically no blacks at all. So to balance that out a bit, we're going to pick this slider here and we're going to bump it all the way up to there. And then we're going to just adjust the midtones a little as well. So we're leaving the very lightest parts. You can now see are kind of these lines, which you can kind of see picking out here and following them around. That's kind of what we're after. So I'm going to merge that down. It goes to there. Right. By double-clicking the layer we can make it editable. It's a nice little trick. And it still doesn't look too much like water, so I'm going to just expand this out. So I'm going to make it about 230% of the width. No, that's maybe a bit much. 200% of the width. Okay, and let that just adapt. Okay, so that gives us a nice big texture. So I'll select the whole texture there, copy it, and you'll see what this is all about in a second. So back to our original map, and I'll paste that over the top now. It's a bit big at the moment, so I need to just use the free transform tool. That's Command T. just whack that down to there. Okay, now you'll notice that I've been changing sizes quite a lot here. Command 0 will always adjust your image to fit within the view that you're looking at. Okay, so once again our image has disappeared, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do is just change that to, nope, not darken, to multiply, and drop the opacity down to about 30%. So you can see what that's done is it's created this kind of lovely rippling effect. You can just kind of pick out here, you can see it across the bottom. It's fairly subtle because we bumped it down to 30%, but it is there. So if I turn it on and off, you'll be able to see the difference. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is go back to this again, and you remember we made this quite a wide image, so I'm actually going to try and get back some of the size of that. So I'm going to bang up the width, and you'll see there's all the image that we stretched before. So because I want to add in a bit of variation, I'm going to take a different part of the image. So you can see I've selected kind of this area here. Copy that, come back to my original image again, paste that on top. As before, that's now covering up everything. And I'm going to move that to here, but this time I'm going to spin it around a bit so that we've got some variation in what we're seeing. And it's still too big, so I can just shrink that down. Now I've got to be careful not to end up with a hard edge on this because you'll be able to spot that a mile off. So it's got to cover the whole image. Now it does cover the whole image, and I'm going to once again change that to multiply and bang it down to about 20%. Okay, and so now you can see that that's given me quite a bit of variation on there. So that gives it kind of this nice mottled rippling effect. Now there's one other thing you can do which is kind of cute. At the moment the colours are fairly uniform. It'd be nice to just change them up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is pick another quite a nice turquoisey blue, create a new layer, fill that new layer there, and then I'm going to do something called create a clipping mask. So you can see that that now changes like this. Now at the moment that's a normal layer, so that's affecting everything. I'm just going to change that over to color, and that will only apply to a little bit of it. Actually what I'll end up doing I think is I'll just merge that down. Okay. And you can see that's now turned from kind of a black and white thumbnail to quite a bright green thumbnail. And I'm going to do the same to this here, but this time I'm going to take quite a deep blue, maybe a bit more turquoise than that. Fill that like that, change that to color, and I'm going to merge that. Nope, don't want to do that. Sometimes it's useful to just get rid of your layer effects and merge things at that stage. Yeah, that's probably a bit too blue, I think. So let's. Oh. Okay, that didn't go so well. So the wonders of undo. Let's bang that down to about 50%. Let's merge that down to there. Right, and then now that we've got that to where we want it, I'm going to change it back to multiply and back to about 30%. Okay, so that was kind of a long way around just to get a slight color tint on those two separate layers. So you can see the color changes slightly when you do this, and then you've got these extra greens in here as well. So that gives you this kind of nice mottled underwater effect. And by kind of piling up those kind of effects on top of each other, you can make it look more and more under the sea-ish. Yeah, that can probably go up a little bit more, I think. Okay, so that was that. So you started off with an image like this. That could be any battle map, or any map you decide to pick in and sink into your Atlantean ruins. And by adding a couple of layer textures, we've got it to an underwater grotto with some kind of dark beast lurking in a hidden well in the center of the building, and all sorts of hidden treasures for your characters to explore. Okay, that's all for today.